Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining our webinar today on the hidden costs of bad financial data and what you can do about it. For those of you who may not know us, at Accounting Seed, we help business owners and financial leaders just like you to connect and automate finance across your entire business. And we're here today to talk about one of the most relevant topics and challenges that we see many clients face, and that's the rising cost of bad financial data, the different ways that we see it take a toll on your business, and more importantly, what you can do to fix it. But before we dive in, I think a few introductions are in order so you can get to know everybody on today's call. My name is Shannon Canzanella. I'm going to be hosting our call today, and I'll be running through some of our material. But with me, I have Mitch Pipert. Mitch is a 4-time CFO and CPA. He is also a 4-time board member and currently holds a board position with the Financial Executives International. And I'm really excited to have Mitch here with us today because he has been in your shoes and he's going to be able to provide some really invaluable perspectives on the material that we're going to cover today. So thanks so much, Mitch, for being with us.
I'm excited to be here.
That's so great. We also have Carly Crossland here. Carly is the Solutions Engineering and Engagement Manager here at Accounting Seed, and she brings many, many years of experience as an accountant and also implementing accounting software solutions. And today she works directly with businesses to provide custom fit solutions that bring accounting and the Salesforce CRM in particular together. So thank you, Carly, for being with us today.
Thanks, Shannon.
Awesome. All right, so we have a packed agenda, so I'm just going to run through some of the key themes we're going to be discussing. First, we're going to talk about why we believe it's time for a wake-up call. We'll talk through this new era of finance and how companies need to adapt to keep up. And then we'll also address how bad financial data directly hurts your ability to navigate this new business landscape. So we'll spend some time outlining the hidden costs that companies face when dealing with 3 core data-related issues. And then last but not least, we're going to leave you with some solutions. So we'll lay out exactly what you need to do to get your business back on track and running at top performance so that you can focus on what really matters, growing your business and serving your customers. Okay, so a few housekeeping items first. The webinar is being recorded and it will be provided to you after the fact, so you can reference it again. And as we're going through today's material, please feel free to drop any questions, thoughts, comments that you might have into the Q&A. You'll see a little question mark symbol. Just click on that and you can input your questions, and we will try to answer as many of those as we can at the end during our Q&A. And then lastly, we will have a few polls today, so keep an eye out for those. You'll see several of those throughout. Make sure you participate. We definitely want to keep this interactive, and we do want to hear from you. So with that, let's jump right in to our content today. So first, let's talk about how the role of finance is changing in an organization and why it looks so different than it did even 5 years ago. We have seen several trends really accelerate this major shift into how finance teams operate and what's expected of them. So there are 3 key trends we're going to highlight here. The first is that we're seeing it become more and more difficult to find accounting talent, which is putting a lot of pressure on small finance teams in particular. Then there's also what we call the rise of saturation or app overload to meet increasing business demands. And then lastly, there's this growing need for finance teams to get beyond the spreadsheets, get beyond the manual work in order to really focus on driving business strategy and becoming more of a strategic partner. But before we look at each one of these in more depth, we do want to hear from you. I promised you some polls, so let's get our first poll up on the screen here. It may take just a few minutes to show it for you. But tell us, which industry trend do you believe is having the greatest impact on your business today? Is it the challenge in finding accounting talent? Maybe it's the internal pressure to consolidate data and apps. Or is it that finance needs to become more of a strategic partner today? We want to hear from you. We're curious. We're going to leave this up for about 5 to 10 more seconds, but make sure you get your answer in here. Again, we love to keep this interactive and want to hear from you. All right. right, let's close that in 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and close that poll. Let's see if we can get those results. Interesting. Okay, so finance becoming more of a strategic partner. Really interesting. Thank you guys for sharing that and for participating. It's great to hear from you guys. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Mitch, and he's going to dive into some of these trends in more depth.
Thanks, Shannon. See, you may have noticed that it's hard to find good accounting talent these days, much harder than it used to be. In fact, 89% of finance and accounting managers report that they're facing challenges in finding new talent to support their needs. The talent shortage is being driven by different factors. For one, we know that 75% of the CPA workforce is made up of baby boomers nearing retirement. At the same time, the number of people taking the CPA exam has fallen to its lowest level in 17 years. Research indicates that the perception of long hours, concern of burnout, and better pay in other professions are part of the equation contributing to the industry labor shortage. Meanwhile, businesses are facing increasing organizational complexity driven by a rise in saturation or exhaustion from too many apps. We're going to talk more about this in a little bit, but as your business grows, you tend to add more apps to serve different needs. This can get out of hand quickly. Data from Productive shows that today, the average business uses 371 apps. That type of volume makes it extremely difficult to have a clear picture of business health and critical measures to drive decisions. And ultimately, everything becomes more and more disconnected. Finally, we're seeing an evolution in the role of finance shifting from a rearview perspective to a more forward-looking strategic place. Businesses are increasingly asking finance teams to step up and contribute as key partners in growth. This path makes more sense because finance impacts every business decision in every department. With a unique view across departments and data-driven insights, finance leaders can help guide productive investments, optimize operations for efficiency, identify new opportunities, and enable data-backed strategic planning. For this trend specifically, I've had some direct experience. I've been very fortunate to have some great finance teams. I believe some may be in the audience today. I've always preached to them about being proactive rather than reactive. The problem is that no matter how talented your team is, if they're bogged down creating manual spreadsheets, finding errors, and reconciling systems, there's very limited time for proactive analysis. Instead, your team is left reacting to results and trends after the fact. This prevents team finance from creating value for your company. At Thomas, we had this very situation. I had a very skilled team, but each monthly close took considerable time due to our disparate systems. This led to long hours of reconciliation and creation of manual spreadsheets, which of course are prone to error. I don't know who was more frustrated, my finance team, me, or my CEO. Back to the data. Recent data shows that in the past 2 years, the portion of finance teams involved in long-term business planning grew 30%. The appetite is there for finance to take on a more strategic role to enable faster and more reliable business decisions. Executing it in practice, however, can be challenging if you don't have the right systems in place. If you haven't taken a hard look at the technology you're using to power financial decisions, your team will likely struggle to keep up in general, and it will certainly be harder to find the time needed to think strategically. They're going to remain stuck in spreadsheet land.
Oh, spreadsheet land is certainly not a place I want to be stuck in. So thank you so much for that insight, Mitch. And you know, with these changes happening in such a short period of time, many companies are starting to realize that their approach to finance is out of date and they're struggling to adapt. So in our experience, we see companies really grapple with these same 3 data issues time and time again. The first is that your data is simply a mess. Finance is typically siloed from other areas of the business, so think sales, operations, marketing, etc. And everything tends to be spread out over multiple systems that don't talk to each other, which creates dysfunction across your accounting, but also across your entire business. And because of this, your data doesn't match or reconcile without a lot of manual work. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you're probably still entering data the same way you always have. You don't have the right tools to automate traditional tasks like accounts receivable, accounts payable, any sort of recurring task, think a recurring billing or journal entry, even creating reports. And this starts to leave your increasingly small finance teams underwater and more prone to error. And this last one is really a result of the first two, and it's that you have poor financial visibility and you struggle to make decisions. You probably have a hard time really pinpointing your most profitable areas, which inhibits your growth. And because of these issues, you don't have the ability to access that timely financial data. So the trouble is, as you continue to ignore these issues, you often are unknowingly draining precious time and resources from your business and from your teams. And we've worked with a lot of businesses dealing with these data-related issues, and we understand that the path to fixing them can feel really daunting. So we're going to try to make it as simple as possible by going through each one and discussing how you can get your business back on track with reliable financial data. But before we do, I promised you some more polls. So we have another one coming up for you. It may take just a few minutes to pop up, but tell us, which data-related issue are you currently facing today? Is it the disconnected data? Maybe it's manual data entry, or poor data visibility and trust in your data, or is it some combination of all of the above? Definitely, I'm mostly curious to hear your responses to this one to see what you guys are facing today. Hopefully it's not all of the above, but we'll see. We'll see what you guys are facing. Again, we're going to leave this up for just a few more seconds, and we'll close this poll in 3, 2, 1. All right, let's go ahead and close that and check out those results. Oh man, all of the above. Well, all of you are in the right place. So thank you so much for joining today and for participating in that poll. So now that we've looked at each issue, let's talk about how each of these really start to play out in the real world. Okay, so the reality is you probably have some sort of serious financial data issues kind of lurking in the background of your business. Most companies do. And even with the best intentions, many organizations end up with serious data issues simply because they have unsuccessfully attempted to piece together tools and systems over time. And as I'm sure everyone on this call knows, your decisions are only as good as your data, right? But without a unified data strategy, you end up making decisions off of inaccurate, disconnected, or old data that is not going to tell you the whole story. So what does this do for you? This puts you in the position of defense. You start to second guess yourself and wonder, do I even really believe the numbers that I'm seeing? So now you're going back, you're manually reviewing that data, and by the time you've done that, you're completely out of the running for any sort of proactive thinking. Mitch, does this sound familiar to you at all? Curious to hear from you on this.
Yeah, messy data also creates embarrassing moments. I can still recall a board meeting where I presented a negative revenue trend based on our ERP system, and our CRO reported a positive trend that she saw from our CRM. Needless to say, we coordinated our presentations after that.
Oh man, well, I'm sure you're not alone in that kind of experience, Mitch, but thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about how businesses usually get here. So the irony is, businesses do not typically get to this spot because they're struggling. It's actually quite the opposite. As your business grows, right, you're taking on more customers, you're processing more transactions, it can really start to ruin your data hygiene. So you can follow along with me on the screen here, but it usually looks a little something like this. As your business starts to expand, it leads to continuous changes to handle that increased scale. So you start to buy new apps, you're adding on more third-party tools and starting to rely on then a bunch of independent programs that each require their own data and their own manpower to work, right? And earlier we talked a little bit about how we've seen these unprecedented levels of saturation as businesses are just becoming exhausted from app overload. And I bet if you sat down today, you would probably be surprised to tally up just how many apps it takes to run your business, right? As Mitch mentioned earlier, for most, it's nearly 400. I know it's pretty shocking. It's shocking to me too. So over time, more stakeholders, including company leaders, any sort of IT admin and accountant, they get involved and they have their own data to add to the mix. And even today, 66% of finance teams feel they are already way too reliant on IT. But that's not all, okay? Complicating matters even more. Your marketing and sales data often becomes disconnected from the financial data. Even though you know you need alignment across all these functional areas to fully understand how your business is doing and to serve your clients at the highest capacity. So if you're following along on the screen, we're in that red area now. We're in a bit of the danger zone. This leads to a constant state of repair and just an overwhelming back office mess. Mitch, didn't something like this happen to you? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, this is exactly what happened in my 15 years at Thomas. So in trying to scale, each siloed department added their own software and apps to monitor revenue. Accounting, of course, had our ERP system, but sales had their CRM and Salesforce, and then marketing had their own software to measure their progress. We all relied on the IT department to implement and support these systems, but our IT budget became inflated as they had to hire additional staff with expertise in each of these areas. We also had to add analysts and administrators in the finance, sales support, and marketing teams. So overall, our G&A as a percentage of revenue escalated to completely unacceptable levels. And this problem was really never fully resolved.
Wow, so knowing situations like that, what's the real answer here? In response to saturation and the increasing risk of accounting dysfunction, the industry is starting to see this counter trend emerge that's being called the great rebundling. So there's a need for businesses to combine key functions like processes that are related to AP and AR automation and spend management, bill pay, cash flow forecasting, and many, many other activities into a single platform. And this single source solution not only allows you to combine those key functions, but also to automate processes across different layers of data without having to code. And this unified approach, it vastly differs from a system where you're left with a disconnected pool of applications. So let's talk through what the benefits of this really are. So by consolidating into one platform, you can do things like sync your CRM and accounting data in real time. So no more pulling data from multiple systems, it's all living in one place. You reduce spend on integration firms, any sort of middleware and IT. You reduce the complexity of your organization, and you start to really lay that foundation for timely and accurate data. And I hate to be the one to break it to you, but this is no longer a nice to have, right? This is becoming the industry standard. And in fact, 80% of CFOs today say they want to consolidate now to save on costs. But like we talked about earlier, we know that messy and disconnected data isn't the only issue we're seeing today. So I'm going to pass it off to Carly, and she's going to talk through manual data entry.
Great, thanks, Shannon. Appreciate it. So linked closely to the challenge of disconnected data is the reality that many finance teams are still entering and validating their data by hand. We saw that in the poll earlier. This is the second major data issue we see slow down your business and create problems for your team. So let's take a closer look at the barriers we often see preventing companies from switching to a more automated approach and how you can solve it. I want to describe a situation many of you can probably relate to. So comment in the chat if you've been through this before. So month end is approaching fast. Your company realizes the data you have in your accounting system doesn't match the numbers in your CRM, which also doesn't tie to your budgets and forecasts in Excel. Your team is suffering, you're stressed, and now all that consumes you is fixing your books. Forget being proactive about what the data is actually telling you. How many of you would say this sounds familiar? Probably more than we would think. Company leaders still often look to their finance teams to perform routine manual tasks, a big one being data entry. A recent report actually from the Association of Finance Professionals found that finance teams only spend a quarter of their time on value-added analysis. The remaining 75% of that time is spent on gathering data and administrative work. If you have a highly educated, smart, and talented accounting staff, and a large part of what they do are rote manual tasks, it's not a great use of your resources. Mitch, I'd actually love to hear your thoughts on this.
Sure, Colleen. Raise your hand if you're a CPA or have an accounting degree and love manual entry. What a surprise, no hands. At Thomas, we had a large part of the finance team dedicated to manual entry for AR and AP, among other things. We had a much smaller group doing FP&A. I would have loved to have had that trend reversed, but it was necessary. There was no automated AR or AP, which would have freed up our team to do analysis and planning. We could have also reduced the number of finance folks we had, but we were stuck burning time and money and getting frustrated without a solution. In an ideal world, you can automate repetitive tasks to free up your staff for higher level strategic work. And the technology solutions are with the technology solutions available today, it is possible to achieve this outcome.
Great. Thanks, Mitch, for that insight. So let's pause for a moment to hear from the attendees. We're going to do a poll here. In this poll, we want to know how much time you think your team spends on manual data entry. Do you think that it is 0 to 10%, 11 to 25%, 26 to 50%, or is it more than 50%, more than half their time? I'll give you all a moment to think about that. And we'll close the poll in maybe another 5 to 10 seconds. Just give you another little bit more time here.
Hopefully it's not more than 50%. I'm hoping for you guys.
Yeah, I really hope for all the teams that are on this call that it's not that often. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so 11 to 25% and 26 to 50% are the most common. So at least it's not more than 50%, but those are still high numbers. Those are high numbers. So thanks everyone for participating in that. One major area that often creates an overload of manual tasks is keeping the movement of money disconnected from your central accounting platform. So payments are made outside of the accounting solution and then recorded in the software. Of the $27.5 trillion in yearly B2B payments volume, AP and AR represent 90% of that value, but embedded payments only account for a small single-digit share of that volume. This causes more data entry and pressure on your accountant to manage these payments manually. When automation isn't connected into your core accounting platform to handle traditional activities like AR, AP, maybe recurring billings, all the journal entries you have to make, it causes under-resourced finance teams to remain swamped with repetitive and manual work. And this increases your likelihood of mistakes, right? Creates missed opportunities to provide strategic guidance and increases your risk for fraud. Mitch, I'd love to hear about a time maybe you struggled in this area.
Yeah, sure, Carly. I mean, here's an example of a real missed opportunity, which we caught many years later. So as a result of having siloed departments and software, there were 4 departments using a single technology vendor. When we realized this, we were finally able to consolidate billing and understood just how much we were spending overall. We were then able to negotiate a 20% discount based on that larger aggregate number. The result was a savings of about $1 million a year.
Wow, that's huge. Thanks for sharing that, Mitch. And you can solve this problem with embedded finance. This refers to fully integrating critical finance functions directly into your core accounting platform. So it's a solution now catching fire due to its massive time-saving benefits. Bain actually expects embedded finance payments to grow exponentially in the coming years, quadrupling from a 2.5% share in 2021 to 7.8% share in 2026. And in the past, most companies have had to manage payments separately outside their central accounting software. This leads to tedious manual processing as data has to be transferred manually back and forth. But with embedded finance, payments can become automated and streamlined. For example, when a customer pays an online invoice, the payment is automatically recorded in your accounting software. It's automatically matched to a bank transaction, and it's automatically cleared on the bank reconciliation. On the AP side, you can automatically create payables straight from vendor emails and digitally process payments right inside your unified platform. Very few providers offer this type of true consolidation into one system today. Many companies still rely on standalone bolt-on tools to handle processes related to AR and AP like payments, but automated and embedded finance represents the future for centralized data and efficiency. So to recap, the advantages of an embedded finance approach can be immense. In addition to the massive time savings, increased accuracy of your financials, and the potential cost savings we've already discussed, embedded finance is also a key tool in helping your business scale without the need for additional staff. Now I'm going to hand it back to Shannon to discuss our last data-related issue, and it's one that's a direct result of what we've already discussed.
Great. Thanks, Carly. And thank you, Mitch, also for sharing such great insights. Speaking of insight, the third data issue that we're going to discuss today is the lack of visibility into your business. So picture this with me. When you have a wealth of data across platforms that would give you key information to grow your business, but you can't actually access that in a timely manner, you are what we call data rich, but insight poor. And it can do more damage than you may even realize. The inability to access key insights on performance and profit direction can really make it feel like you're flying blind in some cases. So in our experience, there are a few signs that a business has poor data visibility. One prime example is when we look at the month-end close. If it's taking you most of the month or more, you are at a significant disadvantage. The frequent delay of visibility into performance simply leads to poor decisions. It means you're acting off of old or incomplete data and therefore taking unnecessary risk, which results in stagnant growth while maybe your competitor is already 2 or 3 steps ahead of you. And not only is it taking too long to get to that data, but by the time you do, you don't trust it. You don't know the health of your business on any given day, and that's a problem, right? And what's driving this is that many businesses lack the financial reporting and analytics tools really needed to guide your company forward. So often what we're seeing is that businesses are using their staff resources to manually pull those reports and then issue them back in some sort of a static format, like a PDF. So I'm going to throw just a few data points your way to kind of back this up. First, research is showing that 71% of finance teams dedicate 1 full day per week to operational reporting. Meanwhile, 98% of finance teams issue their reports in some form of a static PDF, and 95% produce reports that are completely or largely static. Okay, and you may be thinking, all right, Shannon, well, what's wrong with the PDF? These static reports, they really fail to offer that real-time data for detailed analysis or just so you can address crucial business decisions as they come up. And again, this really relates back to having a unified platform. When you don't, businesses are pulling data from multiple areas just to create these reports. And given the current climate of the market unpredictability, this essential information could be obsolete by the time you're able to view it or whomever you're sending it to is able to view it. And this is really at odds with what most financial executives say they want to achieve. And that's a touchless financial close by 2025, but they're not going to get there in this current state, right? So improving your data visibility, it really comes down to this. It comes down to a strong accounting platform that really lays the groundwork for advanced analytics by consolidating your financial data into one place. Now, I'm sure you're hearing a lot about AI and machine learning, right? We're seeing it all over LinkedIn. But the promise of AI and automations delivering this once unimaginable planning opportunity cannot work without a solid foundation of reliable and clean data. So what I'm really trying to say is you have to nail the basics first. Machine learning is only going to perform as well as the inputs they receive. So now this really begs the question, how can you get your business back on track and actually stay there? How can you stay the course? So I'm going to pass it back to Carly, and she's going to talk through some of the solutions for us.
Thanks, Shan. Looking forward to talking through those. So every business wants to make decisions based on reliable insights, right? Rather than take random shots in the dark and save their team's precious time. So let's talk about how you get to a point where your data is an asset to the business, helping you to achieve more clarity, make better decisions, and grow faster. We've highlighted 3 common financial data problems draining your time and resources. First, Shannon talked about when your business grows, it leads to massive data dysfunction. Next, we discussed how so many finance teams are still stuck doing manual data entry to manage critical functions like AP and AR payments, which drains their time and introduces errors. And then finally, we highlighted how disconnected data has the side effect of creating poor data visibility. Accounting Seed recognized these problems over a decade ago and developed the solution. Our platform tackles each issue directly. So number 1, we connect financial data across your entire business, from finance through operations and sales. Built directly on Salesforce, Accounting Seed allows you to run your business on a single platform with your CRM and accounting sharing one data source. This breaks down those silos we've been talking about, cuts the need for add-on apps and sync tools, and gives a single trusted source of data. We make your business efficient by cutting out manual, routine tasks such as AP and AR payments, recurring journal entries, maybe billings, reports, and so much more. This takes pressure off your team, reduces any errors, optimizes your cash flow. We do this by embedding your key accounting functions into your core accounting platform, rather than them operating separately. And we have automation built directly in the platform to do all of this. Lastly, Accounting Seed enables real-time reporting and analytics to provide timely visibility to guide your strategy and growth decisions. Because we're able to give you the foundation of good, reliable data, you can then easily layer on financial analytics and additional automations that work seamlessly to give you real-time insights on profitability direction and business performance. So you may be wondering, what does this actually look like in action? We'll give you a great example. One of our recent clients, Lionheart Critical Power Specialists, is a provider of backup power solutions for hospitals, data centers, and other 24/7 critical facilities. When they came to us, Lionheart was relying on a mix of disconnected QuickBooks, Excel, Outlook, and a slew of other apps to manage their books. The problem was they could not scale with these fragmented solutions. Without integrated data, they were having trouble getting access to accurate profitability insights. And in addition to that, manual processes were draining their time and preventing their team from serving more clients. But after making the switch to Accounting Seed, Lionheart was able to retire their other third-party tools. As a result of that, they saw 40% company growth without having to expand their accounting team or space, and they gained 3 times better visibility into their performance with customer boards. They also improved their efficiency 32% through process automation, and they were able to access real-time accurate data to guide their strategic planning. And these results aren't exclusive to Lionheart though. The combination of Accounting Seed and Salesforce has allowed over 60,000 users to experience massive improvements in business performance. So we hope you come out of today's call with a lot more confidence about how to identify and fix the financial data issues hurting your business. If these challenges resonate with you and you'd like to chat more, our team here is always available. If you're interested in learning more, you're welcome to book a demo with one of our team members. We'd love to see how we can help you. So now what I'm going to do is pop up the last poll on the screen. So if you're interested in a demo, let us know. You can say, yes, you'd like to request a demo, maybe not yet, but send me the webinar recording and I might be later. So I'll give you 5 to 10 seconds to answer that, and then I will pass it back to Shannon.
Awesome. Thank you, Carly. Yeah, feel free to answer this poll if you'd like to see a demo of Accounting Seed, or if you'd like to get the webinar recording or just learn more, you can feel free to let us know through the poll here, and we'll give it just a few more seconds. And then let's go ahead and close that. Thank you. Like Carly said, I mean, it's really cool to see how a real business has achieved such incredible results, right? But like she mentioned, it's not exclusive to Lionheart alone. We've seen over 60,000 users experience these kind of results. So if you weren't able to let us know through the poll, you can always visit us at accountingseed.com to learn more or to book your own demo. So I know we have thrown just a ton of content your way today. Thank you so much for hanging on with us. I've seen tons of questions come through, but if you haven't added your thoughts, comments, questions yet, you can feel free to do so in the Q&A. Again, just click on that little question mark symbol and you can add your thoughts in there. But I think it's time for us just to jump on in. Mitch and Carly, you guys ready for the first one here?
Absolutely.
All right, let's see. Okay. What specific automated accounting tasks does Accounting Seed handle? You mentioned AP and AR, etc. Can you say if it requires any coding to set up? Carly, could you take this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So Accounting Seed handles automated AR and AP processes, and it doesn't require code to set up the automation. On the AR side of things, we can send out automated invoices, we can collect the payment by a payment link, or charging the customer from inside Accounting Seed. So both of those are an option. And then those payments are automatically recorded and reconciled for you, which I think I mentioned earlier. And that fully automates the process so that a bookkeeper or accountant isn't spending that precious time recording manual entries all day. On the flip side, on the AP side, we essentially do the same thing. So the payable is created automatically from the invoice being emailed. The payment is sent out from inside Accounting Seed, so you never need to leave the system to make your payments. And the accounting entries behind those payments are also automatically created, fully automating the AP process. Again, none of this needs costly code in order to set it up.
Great, awesome. Thank you, Carly. Okay. All right, let's see, we're scrolling through here. Okay, this one is for Mitch specifically. A question for Mitch specifically. So this is for you, Mitch. As a CFO, what makes a unified platform so vital for today's businesses? I still see a lot of companies functioning okay with multiple applications.
Right. So that's an excellent question, Shannon. So if you recall, I was talking about that embarrassing moment at the board meeting where we had two sets of results from two C-level people. It just didn't happen at that board meeting. It actually happened in meetings with the CEO. It happened in meetings with the management team. And I believe a CFO owes the management team, the board, and its peers the ability to have a single source of truth. You really shouldn't have disparate systems with different numbers, not knowing what you can trust and what you can rely upon. You really have to have, just one place to go and have a single source of truth, like I said. So that's what, a platform like this gives you. And we never had that at Thomas, and we did run into problems as a result.
Great, thanks, Mitch. Good question. Okay, we've got someone that has asked, how does Accounting Seed differ from other applications, specifically from QuickBooks? Carly, would you mind taking this one?
Sure, absolutely. So I always say Accounting Seed is a bit of the next step up from QuickBooks. We're on platform with Salesforce, so when you are, trying to eliminate a lot of automated tasks, save your accounting staff time, Accounting Seed would be a great next step for your business. Being on platform with Salesforce really allows you to move data more freely without code. So it gives your team a lot more time to focus on more analysis, save their time generally, and it gives you as a business kind of that more advanced feature set where you can save time from automations, have better data insight, maybe better custom reporting capabilities. But it is a replacement of QuickBooks, if I can just clarify that. So
That's great. Thank you, Carly. Okay, here's another good one. You talked a lot about financial data visibility. What specific features does Accounting Seed offer to help overcome the issue that you mentioned of being data rich but insight poor? This person really listened. Thank you. Good question. Carly, would you take that one too?
Sure. So our accounting platform focuses heavily on the use of data tags. On a transaction in our system, we not only select the GL account, of course, but also add a data tag if you choose to use that. Those can be anything from maybe a department you're trying to track costs on, or cost center, maybe a region of your business, or even a job if you do like job costing or project costings. These tags essentially give you extremely detailed reporting. So when you run your financial reports, management style reports too, or even use our analytics option, you're able to get really data rich insights into that level of detail, which ultimately helps you make the most informed decisions for your business.
Awesome. Thanks, Carly. We have a question. Would Accounting Seed benefit a company currently using Sage Intacct? Carla, I'll let you take this one, but just to clarify too, Accounting Seed is a full accounting solution, so we would replace, as Carly mentioned earlier, something like QuickBooks or Sage Intacct. We would replace that solution in its entirety. But I'll let Carly speak to that a little bit more too.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Shannon. We see a lot of customers of ours coming off of Sage. Sage, NetSuite, QuickBooks, we see all of those, and we replace the accounting solutions for all of those solutions out there.
Yeah, Shannon, if I could add to what Carly just said, we actually used Sage Intacct at my last company where I said we had the embarrassing moments. And unfortunately, Sage Intacct, unlike Accounting Seed, is not built on the Salesforce platform. So it's not fully integrated with your CRM. And we had basically two disparate systems with two sets of data. And they either had to be reconciled, each month or at each period. And you don't have to do that with an Accounting Seed. So you're saving that kind of time, but you really have, one source of truth, and you can believe in the numbers and have confidence in the numbers, and that, speaks volumes.
Yeah, that's a great addition, Shannon. I might even add on to what Mitch was just saying. Being on platform, a lot of times it's this new concept, right, of having one system. And so what does that really mean, being on platform? It means exactly what Mitch just said. So the CRM or the front end data is just pushing right into the back end. Being that it's all in one system, the data is all connected. Whereas when you use another system like a Sage or a NetSuite and Salesforce, you're actually operating in two separate systems. So if you want them to talk, you have costly code that's going in between the two. Whereas with Accounting Seed, being completely native to the Salesforce platform, Accounting Seed is Salesforce essentially. So it's one system. You don't have to try to connect them somehow. The data just already exists together.
Great responses, guys. Thanks for answering. That's a good question too. We've got another question related to QuickBooks. We would be migrating from QuickBooks Online. What would we be gaining or losing if we moved to Accounting Seed? It's a very good question. Carly, you want to start that one?
Sure. I am not aware of what you would be losing. I haven't used QuickBooks Online myself personally, but I have not heard of anything so far in my career, at least, that you would be losing from it. Mitch, I don't know if he can provide some insight, but
yeah, I actually.
Oh, go ahead, Mitch. Yeah.
So we used QuickBooks in a startup that I was at a couple of years ago, and I've been in countless demos of Accounting Seed. Accounting Seed has all of the same, features and reporting and dashboards and automation. It's just that, like we've been saying, it's on one single platform. So that's the huge advantage that Accounting Seat has over something like QuickBooks.
So, thanks,
Great.
Mitch. That's great.
I've seen a couple questions asking if the webinar is being recorded. Yes, it is being recorded and it will be provided to you at least within 24 hours. So keep an eye on your email for that. You will see a recording of this come through. Okay, how long has Accounting Seed been around? Great question. Accounting Seed was founded in 2008 and we moved on to the Salesforce platform. We went live there in 2011. So we've been around for quite some time, and we are, as we mentioned earlier, we are native to Salesforce, so we're fully built on the Salesforce CRM, talking about that unified data platform, right? That's essentially what we give to you with that combination of Accounting Seed and Salesforce. Good question. Okay. Not really a question, but a comment. QuickBooks is very limited in terms of customization. I've seen customization on the Salesforce platform and it's virtually limitless. It's a good comment. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, definitely. I would say the customization available in the Salesforce platform is certainly pretty vast, and Accounting Seed being a solution that is built on that platform, we share that technology, right? So a lot of the things that you can automate, configure, customize in Salesforce, you can do that same thing in Accounting Seed.
Yeah, and I can add to that, Shannon, too. I operate a lot in our sales cycle mainly, and I see tons of customers coming off of QuickBooks, and they're like, can you run this custom report for me? Or can I have a custom field because I want to track this other information and I can't do that in QuickBooks right now. The answer to all of those is yes. That is what being on the Salesforce platform allows you to do. If you want to track a metric in a custom field, you can easily, within 15 seconds, add a new custom field to the page. And then you can start tracking data in that custom field. Once you do that, that makes it eligible to report on. So you can then run, Salesforce reports based on that new field you just created. So the options really are limitless. Whoever submitted that question, that is a really good point.
Yeah, great comment. Great comment. What size company is Accounting Seed suitable for? We are a small company. Yeah, that's a great question. So Accounting Seed works with really small to mid-sized businesses, so growing companies. And one of the major benefits of Accounting Seed is that we are not industry specific. So we service a lot of different industries. We have a lot of internal staff that are familiar with many different industries, from professional services to nonprofit and everything in between. So kind of our bread and butter, I would say too, is we take a lot of customers off of QuickBooks. We're very familiar with that implementation process and moving customers from QuickBooks to Accounting Seed. So if you're a small business that's using a solution like that, Accounting Seed would certainly be for you. But curious if you guys have other thoughts too to add to that question.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just add that the pricing model for Accounting Seed is super compatible, if not more attractive than QuickBooks, and certainly better than, say, NetSuite and some of the other competitors out there. So, if cost is a factor, which it is for most CFOs, that's another value add that Accounting Seed brings. And then don't forget, you don't have the tweaks to the implementation of coordinating all these different, disparate systems into one system. I remember that was a costly endeavor when we were at Thomas, and again, we never fully were able to do that as one source of truth. Accounting Seed brings that to the table out of the box.
Yeah, it is costly and it breaks too, right? I mean, we see so many prospects and customers coming to us who have a connection between Salesforce and QuickBooks, so they're looking into it. It's costly, number one, and number two, most of the time we hear it's unfortunately not working the way they hoped it would.
Yeah, great, thank you guys. We'll take a few more questions. Let's see. Does Accounting Seed have any G2 awards? We do, yes. So we do have a profile on G2. We also have tons of reviews there. You can check them out. But we've had awards like, best small business accounting software, things like, easiest to use, easiest to implement, those sorts of things. You can actually check out those awards on our page and go through some of the reviews to hear what some of our customers have experienced. So it's a great question. We also have reviews on the Salesforce App Exchange. We have tons there. That's also a great place to go, where you can not only see reviews from, accountants and finance professionals, but also if you're on the IT side of things, like a Salesforce admin, there's lots of reviews from that perspective as well. So that is a great question. Let's see. Can you please again explain the ideal of one source of truth? I'm still a little bit confused as to if it requires thinking. It's a good question. Carly, would you take that first?
Yeah, so one source of truth essentially means single data tables, right? So when you log into QuickBooks and then you log into Salesforce, and if we're talking about a customer account here, you have two data tables to keep both of those up to date. So you have to update the customer in QuickBooks, you have to update the customer in Salesforce, right? So those are two separate data tables. When you use Accounting Seed or something that's on platform, you are operating with one data table. So you're only updating that customer one time. That same customer record is operating across your entire system. So you run reports, you're running it on one record in the system. And then furthermore, there really is no syncing idea. So it's on platform. So Accounting Seed is Salesforce. It's not a separate product. It is Salesforce essentially. So there is no syncing process. There's no integration process or connection from code. It's when you log into Salesforce, you're logging into Accounting Seed. So there is no syncing necessary.
That's great. Thank you, Carly.
Right. The advantage there is pretty clear. When you have a system like what I was using in prior life that is not on Salesforce, you're creating manual spreadsheets to reconcile the two systems. That is prone to error. It's time consuming, and it takes away from all the proactive analysis that we were talking about earlier that we would like our finance teams to partake in.
Yeah, it's great. We'll do a couple more. Is Accounting Seed fully on cloud? Yes, we are a cloud-based accounting solution. It's a great question. We are a cloud-based accounting solution. Thank you for asking that. Is there a way to see Accounting Seed in action? Yeah, so there's a couple different things you can do. You could go to our website and request a demo, and we would obviously love to show you the solution. If you also go to the Salesforce App Exchange and you type in Accounting Seed, sometimes you'll also see us on the front page there. But there is an option to take what we call a test drive, and it's sort of like a guided tour of Accounting Seed. So there's that option as well. But of course, you can always reach out to us at accountingseed.com, and we'd love to show you the solution. And then let's see. Okay, comment, not a question. I do appreciate you pointing out the fact that there are less accountants coming into the workforce. I also think if people really understood the kind of technology available today in accounting, maybe younger folks would be more inclined to jump into the profession. Yeah, that's a great comment. I agree with that. I also think that a lot of businesses are seeing the new technology that's coming out, many of which are using that technology like Accounting Seed, but there's also a significant amount of businesses I think that are not, and that could be a hindrance to some maybe younger generations coming into the profession. Mitch, Carly, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that comment too.
Sounds like we got to share this with the high school and college curriculums.
Yeah. Yeah, get the younger folks in there for sure. That's a great comment. Okay, I know we've got lots of questions. We're hitting the top of the hour. If we did not get to your question, we would love to follow up with you. So again, thanks so much for just the lively Q&A. This was fantastic. Really appreciate it. So if you want to take a little bit of a deeper dive into today's topic, I want to encourage you to visit go.accountingseed.com/bad-data-guide. And I'm actually going to pop this link into the chat for you guys. Let me put this in here real quick so you guys can have easy access to that. And this is how you can get the guide on today's topic, where you can learn more about how to overcome the hidden costs of bad financial data, and it really will help you take some more proactive steps into getting your business back on track. So highly encourage you to take a look at that on our website after today's webinar. But that is all we have here for you today. Thank you again for joining us at Accounting Seed to discuss how you can get your data back on track. We really appreciate you joining us, and we hope that it was helpful for you and that you learned something. Again, feel free to visit us at accountingseed.com if you're interested or want to know more. But until then, we'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Take care.